Hashem Sfasai Tiftach Ufi Agitila Sacha. We're now in the 7th parak of Amos. The first part of this parak is though it's like a movie. A movie gives images that are not as pure as perhaps the book version, but give images nevertheless that are easy to conjure up in one's brain. And that seems to be what Amos is having. He's having the visions, and in these visions, the first two are not nice visions. They're very disturbing. He has the first vision that he talks about is, remember, we have this understanding of what's going to happen from a different parak of all of the punishments that are going to happen to the Jewish people. And so here he's having the first vision, and in that first vision, it's the vision of the locusts. Not the same locusts of Yoel, but locusts nevertheless that are going to come, and they're going to completely eat up all of what's happening. And Hashem, and then he says at the end of this vision, Salachna, miyakum Yaakov ki katonhu. He says, please forgive the people, please, they're small. They might seem aristocratic and all haughty, but they're really not. They're katon. Nicham Hashem al zot, and Hashem forgives Lotia Amar Hashem, and then Hashem says it's not going to come. And then again, there's this new vision, and this vision is a vision of fire. And the vision is a vision that the fire is going to consume Tehom Rabbah, every va'achla, sachilik, and everything. And he says again, Chadalna, please, miyakom Yaakov ki katonhu. Again, katon, we're small. And Hashem says, Nicham Hashem al zod. Hashem then forgives him. Kam hi lo tieh. Again, it's not going to be Amar Hashem. And then the third one, he says, I get this vision, and there's a vision of Hashem with an anach. What's an anach? Anach is never mentioned in Tanakh except for here. It's one of those words, and it's a word that is like a level that measures to make sure that the wall is going to be okay, and that the wall is going to be even, and he's holding a wall, this measure, and he says, Ma taroeh Amos, what do you see? And he says, Ananach. And he says, I'm going to put this anach, this plumb line, this level in the midst of my people, and I'm not going to forgive them. And v'nasamu bamos Yitzchak, and the high places of Yitzchak, but it's spelled with a shin instead of a tzadi, a sin instead of a tzadi. So what is this? The altars of Yitzchak. So either this is a reference to Akedas Yitzchak, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please forgive the people, not because they deserve it, but conjure up the idea of the avos, and in particular Yitzchak. We never mention Avram and Yitzchak because they have Yishmael and Esav attached to them. But here we're saying we are, and it's a little bit of a different one, because either it could be in reference to the Yitzchak, that they are doing things frivolously, like with no obvious reasoning behind it, like a joke, or it's like Yitzchak, as in the Akedas Yitzchak. And unfortunately here it's in a comparison that while Amos would love to be able to negate it, he doesn't. And Hashem says it's like the Yitzchak that they're going to be desolate. And why are they going to be desolate? Because they didn't do what Yitzchak did. And Umikdashi Yisrael Yecharavu, and I'm going to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. Either the Mikdash Yisrael is referring to the false altars, or the Bayis Rishon. What's going to ultimately happen is V'kamti, and I am going to raise myself up on Beis Yeravam Lacharev, on the Beis Yeravam, and the king who's the king right now, Yeravam ben Yoash, and it's by sword. And now those are the three images. Two of them, Amos fights, he gives a tefillah, and good news, he's forgiven. But the third one, Hashem says, no, I am not going to forgive what they've done, and they are going to be punished. And the house of Yeravam, the kingdom of Yeravam of Yisrael, is going to be destroyed. Now, This does have a little bit of that same methodology that Amos uses, al shlosha pishei, right? There are 3 sins that I can forgive for whatever nation, but arba lo ashivenu, but I can't forgive on the 4th. So here too, I can forgive for 2, but on the 3rd, I'm not forgiving. And so we have this understanding of the beginning of the parak, and Kivyachol, Amos is standing there. He's standing there, and he is doing what he has to do, and he is trying to get the people to listen to what he has to of what's happening, but they're not really taking heed. And so now the parak shifts to the one and only story that is mentioned in Amos. So this story is a story with Amatzia. Amatzia is the Kohen Gadol, and he's a false prophet, and he prophesizes in Beis El. He's based in Beis El. Let's go back and understand just a little bit the historical context. 200 years earlier, during the first king, not Yerovam ben Yoash, but the first Yerovam ben Nevat, he was the king, and he created these areas instead of Yerushalayim, because he wanted to take away the power of Yerushalayim. He created in Beit El, he created in Dan, Beersheba, other places. He changed the days of the Yom Tov, he changed the places of the Yom Tov, and he changed the whole methodology of who could give the korbanos. The Kohanim were able to be whoever wants to be a Kohen. You could be a Kohen. It's a very nice newfound opportunity for anyone who wants to grab it. And so during this time, the people were able to go wherever they wanted, and that created this idea of a newfound religion. And so when Amatzia is in Beit El, he's in Beit El because that's the source of where the judgment, the sun, everything was then there. And Amatzia gives prophecy to Yerovam ben Yoash, and he says to him, this Navi is prophesizing against you, and he's saying that there's going to be a down in your kingdom and everyone's going to be destroyed. Like, he is terrible. He's taking it from himself. He doesn't mention that it comes from Hashem. And what does Yerovam do? Yerovam doesn't say anything. He doesn't punish him. He doesn't even own the idea of what it is. He just completely disregards. Now, if we go back just for a moment of what this anach, remember that the anach of Hashem is being held. So anach, one of the ways that it is interpreted is anach from the word onas dvarim, the harshness with words. Here we have, in contrast, right, and harshness with words is something HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and punishes Klal Yisrael. Here we have that Yerovam ben Yoash. He is mentioned in Hosea as one of the kings. He's given kavod as one of the kings connected with the kings of Yehuda. Why? Because when it came to it, he didn't believe Amatzia, and he didn't believe anything that Amatzia had to say. And so he didn't punish Amos. He doesn't say anything with Amos, and Amos fights back and says, "Are you kidding? I'm not someone that does anything for money. I didn't do this. I am not a Navi, the son of a Navi. I didn't take on this for any reason except that this is what Hashem gave me. And I, lo Navi anochi, v'lo ben Navi anochi, ki boker anochi, uboles shikmin." I deal with animals and with trees. And so how dare you say that I am a false person? You're false. And not only that, I'm not doing anything for money. And let me tell you what's going to happen to you. And here's where the people start to listen. And they're going to say, Ishtacha bi'ir tizneh. Your wife is going to be a harlot. Banechom notzecha b'cherev yipolu. They're going to die. Your children are going to die. Admasecha b'chevel tuchulak. Your land is going to be divided by and taken from you. Ata al adamat timeh tamus v'Yisrael galo yiglem al admaso. And the end of the parak is that what happened, that the Jews are going to go into exile. You and the Jews are going to go into exile. Why is this so strong? So again, this ties into the idea of harshness with words. This also ties into the idea that someone who listens to a Navi, you must listen to the words of a Navi. it has this philosophical debate. If you don't, you're punished from the mina shamayim, death from shamayim. And the idea, but what about the Torah? What about the Torah? Moshe gave us the Torah, so if we don't listen to the Torah, then technically we're going to, succumb to a really terrible punishment. So no, there's a difference between the Torah and Nevuah. But the idea being that we do have to listen to a Navi, but the Navi who is a stumbling block to all of Klal Yisrael because he's not allowing people to listen to the real Navi because he's a Navi Sheker, well, he really gets his day of reckoning. And what we see here, first of all, is the power of speech, the power of the harshness that Hashem can forgive some things, but he can't forgive it all. Second of all, we have this idea of Hashem listening to the humbleness, that the thing that really brought the punishment away from Klal Yisrael was Amos saying, they're low. They might be acting like they're haughty, but they're not really haughty. They're low. They're like Yaakov. The katonti mikol chasadim mikol emes, like the way that the Avos spoke, that they're humble and they're good. They're not haughty. So clearly Hashem doesn't like the haughtiness. And the power of tefillah, Hashem was able to forgive and forget for no good reason. The people didn't deserve it, but because Amos davened for it, he was able to receive it. And so, beautiful messages, and this is the one and only story in the Sefer of Amos.